Finally, we're here and we're making it happen. And I'm your host, Vermont Bail. And for our first one, we're going to be talking about the League of Legends team that we just watched do really well against Penn State. So first off, we have our man, Paul?
Paul.
Yep. Paul. Okay, Paul.
Yep, a.k.a. Haxorr.
And then, in addition, we've got Allan.
Yep, my name is Allan. My summoner name is I am I, you are you too.
Yep.
Awesome. So just real quick, I'd like you to introduce yourself. More on just like, how'd you guys get into League of Legends, RIT Esports, how long you've been playing, everything. We'll start with you, my friend.
All right, so I've been playing League since, maybe since I was like 10 years old, actually. So like Season 3. So I've been playing for about 10 years or so. And, I don't know, I always kind of just played casually, but I got pretty good at the game. And when I got to RIT last year, I saw there was tryouts. So I said, why not? I'll try out. And now here we are. I love it. It's so fun.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I think I also got back into the game in like Season 3. Picked it up around middle school. Kept playing, and then when I was coming to RIT, I saw that, RIT Esports was a thing. My first year I went to Club Fair, talked with the guys at the booth, and I was like, yeah, that's something I really want to do. And it's been great. Yeah.
Good stuff. So, this interview is hot off the heels of RIT versus Penn State, their third game in the CLOL round robin, right? And they just went 2-0, and I'd love to know your thoughts on what happened in that match. Some things you did well, some things you could have gone better. What do you guys think? Open floor.
You want to start? Yeah. I think really it starts with draft. Like every game starts with draft, and our coach Quinn Kizame had a really good strategy, just team fight them. Like their champ pool's not super diverse, so we can kind of predict what they're gonna pick and just outfight them.
Exactly. Yeah. So you could have seen that in Game 1. They drafted Akali, Camille, and Jarvan, which are all champions that like to go in, right? They dive on our carries. So then we drafted Wukong and a Mumu, which can stun them up, and Azir as well, which can shuffle them out. So it kind of theoretically just counters their entire team comp, and that was huge for us in Game 1.
Yeah. I mean, as far as what we could have done better, I mean, there was a couple slip-ups. Like, I know personally I made some micro things that led me to dying. There was that Baron that we gave in the first game that was a little troll.
Yeah, I died. Baron off that.
Yeah, other than that, I think we were just the better team.
Agreed. Yeah, we kind of just stomped them.
Okay, so is this one of the games you'd say that you won, sort of at the draft? Like, you were able to just understand what they were doing, how they played from previous matches? Actually, let's talk about the preparations you go, because I know I've played, like MOBAs and stuff before, but I know that one of the big things that separates is that everyone's in a team, right? And the big thing is that you can sort of peek into their matches, into their history. How much preparation do you guys do for your D1 games?
A lot. We do a lot, and our coach does a lot. You should see the chat logs we have in our Discord server. He typed a whole essay today. He was looking into the recent games, typing out a plan. So basically, our plan going into this game was to really prioritize having a good matchup for our bot lane, which, as you saw, worked really well. Miano just popped off in both of the games, did very well. And, preparation is just a huge thing in League. Looking at the type of compositions the other team plays and picking stuff that we think will do well into it.
Yeah, we can look at the previous matches that they've played in the season. So that's a big hint onto what they'll draft, what they want to do. We can see their ranked history, each of their accounts, so we know, hey, maybe this guy is, tending towards assassins or towards mages, or, just figure out their champ pool based on that.
Okay. So, that sort of, assessing what they're doing, do you think that's, the major key to success? That's what, is the biggest part that separates, basically just running it down in ranked from this? Or what are some other key stuff that you'd want to tell people? What makes this different from queuing a 5-stack in ranked?
Okay.
You want me to start?
Yeah, you can.
There's that side of prep, preparing for the individual team that we're going to go up against. And then there's also just, we scrim a lot, right? We try to scrim at least twice a week. Over the winter break, when we had more free time, we were trying to do, 3 times a week then.
Crazy.
It's more like 5 times a week.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And just getting used to your teammates, right? when we first started playing with each other, we weren't always on the same page. You just have to kind of build that synergy, that cohesion.
That's awesome, man. So the team synergy is the big thing that you had to like build up, right? That's what does a coach add to this whole operation? Like they're like looking at replays or whatever, setting that up. But what is the coach? This sixth member of the team, right?
Very important member too. I mean, yeah, I would say that our coach Quinn is probably the most knowledgeable of the game in general out of everyone on
Yeah, I mean,
the team,
just to flex for him real quick, like he's a challenge level player. He's played amateur leagues. He's a really good League of Legends player.
So he knows like thematic counters in all the lanes pretty much. He knows like what will be good in matches. And so when we have him scouting for us against these other teams and drafting up a plan for us as we go into these games, it's really, really helpful. And it's helped us a lot in our games.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And like sometimes we'll do VOD reviews, like look back at our previous scrims and stuff like that. And he's really good at facilitating the conversation. Like sometimes you might have, like let's say it's an obvious error, like, oh, something went wrong here. But then he helps break it down, figure out exactly how we could have done it better. And like that's a really key step to improving.
Okay. Let's look here. So like in that, I know that we have that sort of hierarchy structure of having the coach and all that. How do you guys like run comms? So we're all in the Discord chat or whatever, right? Who is the shot caller? Who's making, like, what's the priority list? Because, I mean, at least when I play video games, there's a lot of times where, like, the voice just gets cluttered. You have no idea what's going on, and we aren't able to... How do you guys solve that issue?
Okay, so I think Source Walker's probably our most vocal when we're playing, right?
Yeah, he's super vocal.
He's always calling plays and stuff like that. So top lane's a unique role for me because I'm kind of split up from them a lot of the time. So I get the advantage of just being able to like watch and look at everything that's happening. So oftentimes I'll be like, no, you guys should do this. No, you should back off here. You should go push this wave and then back off to this objective, stuff like that. And then, I don't know, Miano, what does he like in comms?
I think he gives the information that he needs to.
Yeah, he's got to just like kill kill
this guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, as far as like our communication setup, we don't have like there's no designated like this guy's our shot caller.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know like other games you might have like a sole shot caller, or they have very like I don't know. I've seen like Overwatch or other games where there's very precise communication. Like
yeah, that's what I was trying
like
to
say hero name, say like damage or I don't know like stuff like that where it's super precise. But I don't know. We just communicate like. Maybe cooldowns, what we're looking for, what we need, stuff like that.
Okay. And then I know that you guys have that sort of stuff, but what do you guys think is like your personal strength as a team? What is the big thing that we are like relying on, that we are pushing us through, that's getting us these wins? Is it just like mechanical skill? Is it communication? What do you see in the games that you win? What is like we did this better, like in the back of your head?
Okay, I think... Yeah, a lot of it, in all the games we win, a lot of it is our bot lane duo working together with our jungler to get priority and to just kind of beat them out in the 2v2 in the bot lane. And it's interesting, our strategy kind of morphed over the past few months, right? So when we all first came together, we used to, I don't know, would you say it's accurate that we used to play topside more?
Yeah, I think...
we used to play for... me in top lane and for our mid laner more and kind of leave bot lane to do their own thing. But as we noticed how the meta shifted and stuff like that, we started playing for our AD carry Miano a lot more. And that's led to a lot of success. When we put a lot of resources bot lane and get them ahead, it kind of translates over to the whole map. Yeah,
I think the biggest difference from like early on as a team to now is Source Walker's usually he pats down. We were in the beginning, he'd path up, go towards top lane, give help there. Yeah. And then we're like, nah, you gotta come bot lane, man. Like, either help cover us from the other jungler, like, help us keep our pressure, or if they're pushing up too far, gank these guys, like, get bot lane ahead.
Yep.
Okay.
Secure early dragon, stuff like that, it's all.
You guys used the word priority earlier. Yeah. What is priority?
Okay, so Priority is basically to get in depth with League.
You got it.
There's waves, right? There's mini waves. So if you want to, like, the dragon is right here. Actually, they can't see.
Yeah, no. We can all close our eyes and imagine League of Legends map. It's just like every other.
So we have our dragon objective in between mid and bot lane, right?
Yeah.
So when you want to do dragon, you want to kill all the minions in the mid lane and bot lane, which allows your laners, your champions in both those lanes, to come to the dragon and take it. So priority basically means that we have champions that can move from their lane into the jungle to play around objectives. That's what priority is.
So I think in Dota, the word we'd use is like creating space.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of push up.
Idea.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
We'd push up, it's wave shove. I know that you guys also use wave shove, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wave shove to create space, and then because there's an objective in Dota, the objective is only where Baron Nashor is.
Okay.
And it never like shifts or changes or whatever. You guys have like another different one called Dragon that's a little bit more, you could do like almost four times a game, right? Mm-hmm. That's the big objective other than towers. Okay, so that is why you would want to shove in mid and bot to get that one. Okay.
Yep.
So now that I have that, what do you guys think is your, like, when you lose games, what is the thing we're looking to do better? Do you usually lose? I can refine it. Do you usually, like, when you lose, is it usually during the draft phase? Is it some sort of misplay that spirals? Is it losing it right before, like, you are winning and then sort of... I know that there's a bunch of different ways to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you guys think is your most common way in the league?
Probably throwing leads.
we've thrown a lot of leads, I'll say that.
Yeah.
We're doing well coming into, like, the mid to late game, and then we overextend. We try to do a Baron that's not really feasible, where they're able to punish us for it, and then that just like turns the game on its head like that, and it's rough.
Okay. What would be the best way? Like, I know hindsight's 20/20. What's the best way to avoid that kind of stuff? If you were to give that advice, you're coaching someone who that happens to them a lot. What would be the way to get out of that? I know that in the moment you're like, oh, how do I get into this situation? But
just to slow down and plan out objectives and big fights more ahead of time, which, speaking from experience, is hard to do unless you're ahead, right? Because if you get behind and you can't really set up objectives, then it's hard. But our problem a lot of the time is we're ahead and we don't set them up properly. And then we kind of throw the game and give a lot of gold to the other team, and then they come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you were saying, being calm. Sometimes we'll have, like, a really good team fight, and where everyone's really excited, everyone's really hyped up, and we're all kind of, like, celebrating and stuff, like, everyone's just hyped. And then we're not keeping track of their death timers, like, when they're respawning, when they're going to be able to be back out on the map. And then maybe we get caught, and then that leads to just further snowballing of, like, now we're losing objective control, now we're losing the Baron, now the game's thrown.
Okay, I see. Alrighty. So, are you guys willing to talk about, like, your upcoming match and what kind of stuff you're going to be prepping? I think it's Juniata, correct? I don't know if you guys even started thinking about that yet.
I haven't looked at it at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
something we'll do more this week.
Taking it one match at a time, yeah.
Okay. I do not worry.
Maybe be out on the look for a Gangplank pick this upcoming weekend. I'm going to put a lot of games on it this week. And
Gangplank? So what's cool about Gangplank? Wait, as like your top laner, right?
Yes.
So this would be Gangplank
This is something I've been learning.
What is unique?
He's a very hard champion to learn, right? But he's very good in competitive play. Basically, his ultimate ability is a huge AoE slow that does a lot of damage. So it's like a big area to cut people off, or you just use it to engage to help your teammates land their abilities. And he's also a very safe top pick. So like I said earlier, how we play for our bot lane now, Gangplank allows me to kind of just sit up top and just get gold and play safe and not die. And then get to later on in the game and make a difference there. So that's what I'm looking to do.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
What about you? Are you any new picks? I know. So, like, you were playing the Nautilus, correct?
Yes, but both games Nautilus.
Both games Nautilus. Is that, like, your big go-to?
It's kind of become our go-to.
Yeah, and we played it in our first match as well that we won. Also, there was a patch that just happened pretty recently.
I have some notes on it that I'll be asking about, but yeah.
Nautilus was one of the champions that got pretty sizable buffs, so it's one of the premier engage supports, and it works.
Are you like someone who really likes like the repositioning the opponent supports? Is that like what you're going after? Or like if you could pick anyone, if you were just like playing the game and you're like, wow, who's my favorite? What's your favorite?
I think just having fun playing Pike, the assassin support.
Okay.
He's kind of similar to Nautilus. Like he has that same hook that repositions, like pulls them towards you.
Mm-hmm.
His ultimate is the execute that gives your allies gold. Like,
dude, we are never picking Pike.
Yeah. So in competitive, it's a little bit tougher to pull off. You need to really make sure that you get a lead with it. It's team fighting is it's hard, especially if you don't have a lead. Because like he's kind of reliant on that ultimate. If you don't get that reset, if you don't kill them early in the fight, then you're kind of a useless champion. And if they have a more standard not assassin support, then they're just gonna provide way more value than you. But yeah, if there's like an opportunity to pull it off in a match, I'll try. I'll ask our coach, be like, please give me the Pike. But
so your coach is like on there and they're making the drafts, and you just sort of have input onto it.
Yeah, exactly. He kind of provides recommendations, or we recommend something. He's like, no, I don't think that's good, or yeah, that sounds good. I think that's really good here, and then we kind of just formulate and pick off.
So everyone's like, it's like a communion.
Yep.
Like everyone's contributing to the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So personal opinion questions about the draft. Do you feel we can do one by one, unless you both agree? Do you feel that it is better to ban a player out of the game in the banning phase, or to ban meta champions?
Meta champions, I would say, for the most part.
I would say meta champions, but it depends. It's situational. If you see that one of their players only can play like 2 champs, or like he's a one trick, he has like hundreds of games on this one champion and he doesn't really play anything else, then we should ban that. Yeah.
But that is so like to be successful as a league player and to not fall into that. Do you think like being well rounded is good? But how many champions should you play? Do you have to play enough to try to get out of the fact that you can get banned out? So like you have to play 3 or 4, I think is like the amount that they could ban you out in? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I focused on a lot in the off season, was kind of expanding my champion pool. Because when I started the season out this year, I could maybe only play like 4 champions, but now I can play like probably around 10. So it makes it really handy. You kind of always have a pick into whatever they pick. It's very important to have a really diverse champion pool and to be able to play a lot of different characters.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to like quote unquote win the draft phase, if you're looking to have that stronger draft, having more options is going to make that infinitely easier.
Exactly. And to highlight this in the game we just played, one of our focuses, we banned meta champions, but we kind of targeted their jungler because we saw that he's been playing comfort champions like Maokai. They like to play like these kind of tank, just be a front line, provide a lot of support for their other players. So we specifically banned out meta champions that he plays to put him on champions that are much easier to punish, and that led to stuff like the Belveth, which we picked Rammus into.
Oh, that Rammus was awesome.
Yep.
That was so much fun to watch.
And also the Jarvan, which we picked a Moo into, which countered it again. So that was a big part of our draft, and that was something that our coach came up with going into the game, which was really effective. We
kind of got 2 birds with 1 stone, because like the Sejuani, the Maokai, the Udyr, those are the meta champions, and that's also what this guy's been playing. He's been practicing. And so by kind of balancing out what we ban against them, we were able to take away those meta champs from him and also take away his champ pool.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. All right. So, I have to look at my notes for the more specific league questions. All right, you ready? What are your thoughts on the recent Aurelion Sol rework?
Should have brought Silver.
Yeah, Silver, our mid laner.
Yeah.
Is Aurelion Sol mid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Champion. It looks sweet. I mean, I haven't played against it. Like, I haven't played it in a match or anything. It's cool.
I played against it.
It's got the black hole. It's got the giant ultimate. It's got the laser beam breath. I don't know.
Yep. So it's disabled for our match this weekend, but it will be enabled next weekend. So
what's the turnover for that? If they when they full rework a character like that, how fast does it get into that tournament mode?
Usually just 1 week.
A week?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it got released Wednesday or Thursday.
I think Thursday.
And
with
it's
the patch.
enabled on the 15th. So 1 week, just to give people time to learn how it works now and play against it a little bit.
Yeah. Is a week also for new characters, or is that a little longer? Full new characters.
I think it's still a week, right?
I think it might usually be a week. I know just randomly back when Viego was released, he was really problematic with bugs, and so he didn't get enabled for collegiate or pro play for months. It was kind of a weird situation. But yeah, I think it's usually a week.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. So you guys said that you were talking a long time ago. I have this strange memory that I want you guys to tell me if this existed or not. I think there's So one of them is, I played a little bit of League a long time ago. Was there a time where Warwick was just disabled? Just Warwick was not allowed to be played? Because I played a little Warwick, right? And then I logged on one day and they were like, this hero's not playable right now. They were he had some bug or something where he disappeared from the client.
I couldn't.
Because I probably could look this up right now, but it just came to me and I wanted to ask if you guys. And another thing. Was Gangplank killed or dead or something, and they removed him from being able to be played as well? That's true? Okay, because I also remember my friend trying to play Gangplank, and they killed him in the lore or something, and he wasn't able to be played?
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. When they reworked the champion, they removed him from being pickable because they quote-unquote killed him in the lore.
That's hilarious. Okay.
I mean, going back to Warwick, there was this item called Wriggle's Lantern where it made Warwick the most insanely broken champion in the game for a patch or two, I think. But as far as being disabled, I don't remember that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But maybe you never saw him because he was permabanned on that patch. So.
Okay, so to our support player, patch 13.3 added some changes to melee supports. Did any of those changes put them on your radar?
Yeah, the Nautilus. I mean, I guess it was already on our radar, but it just further bumped them up to being this is something that we can pick pretty confidently and we'll do well with.
What were the changes?
I think they made his shield a little bit bigger. They gave his E, which is an AoE around him, a little bit more damage.
And his passive, right? Got damage as well.
Yeah, his passive got a little bit of damage. It was small buffs, but enough through his kit that it just kind of pushes him over the top to being a premier support.
Yeah, because Nautilus was already good before the buffs. I personally don't think he needed any buffs, but
yeah,
some I'll take advantage of it.
Yeah, right. You've got a couple other champs in that patch as well. Rakan, Alistar. Something we're definitely thinking about.
Alistar's an old one. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. We played it our first match just because it had a good matchup into the Nautilus. So yeah, maybe we'll see it some more.
Awesome. All right, and then for our top player. In Season 13, there were some buffs to solo lane XP, and there were some item changes that benefit some top laners. What are your thoughts on the current power and agency of the top lane?
Okay. I do think that top lane in general, with the current meta, should be played as the weak side. So, and that's what our team has been doing. So we allocate more resources to our bot lane and mid lane, and top lane kind of gets left on an island to do their own thing.
Okay.
But regarding the meta right now, I really, really enjoy it. Because sometimes there's what's called a tank meta, right?
The tank meta?
Where tanks are just the best champions in the top lane. And that's really boring. I never enjoy playing when it's tank meta. So right now, the best champions are kind of these fighter champions that are more duelists, and they kind of 1v1 each other and stuff like that.
Okay, so it's a little bit more explosive. So I always saw, as in Dota, the top and bottom lanes are mirrors. So I don't know how much Dota you guys know, but our ADCs, if they were on red and the top right, they would be on top lane. Instead of being split this, or in a way that it's mirrored where both top laners always go top, the top laner is always against the ADC support duo. And there's no jungler. It's just a weird... It's like a pseudo core ADC who's more specialized in like stunning and stuff and like that kind of stuff, with another version of the support that roams around like a jungler but never like sits in jungle and farms.
Yeah.
Right? They're more like roaming around doing all that kind of stuff. So I was wondering, is it sort of like a second mid lane up there in top? What makes it different from mid?
You have a lot less kind of influence on the early game.
Okay.
Right? Because you're further away from the dragon, which is the prominent early game objective. They added Rift Herald recently. How recent ago was Rift Herald?
Not that recent.
I don't know.
I feel like it's been
2-3 years, right?
Maybe
Longer?
more. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Before Rift was added, it kind of sucked because there's just no objective top side at all. So
and you just have to wait for Baron Nashor, right?
yeah, which is like 20 minutes, so it's
Jeez.
pretty long into the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, mid lane kind of gets a lot more action, which is for good and for bad. You know, they have to deal with enemy jungler a lot more. They have to keep track of those things. They have to deal with enemy support coming up to the mid lane. So that's kind of why I like top lane, is it's more of just like 1 versus 1. I can kind of just use my individual skill to play against the enemy top laner instead of having to deal with the other enemies.
From a bot lane perspective, like, I'm constantly thinking about the mid lane. Like, if I'm pushed up, then I need to be worried about their mid laner, roaming down.
Yeah, just like coming to get you.
The mid lane facilitates dives, so like as bot lane you can kind of hide under your tower. But if the jungle and the mid are able to come, then like you're dead. Like you're not getting any resources. Whereas the top lane, like, it's so far that like I'm not worried about it. They're up there doing their own thing, and I don't want Paul to die early, but like if he does, it's not going to impact
really
me.
matter. I don't know. Yeah. That's another thing that you could have seen in that game too. Like, I died a few times top, but it didn't really matter because, like we talked about, the strong side of the map is bot right now. So it doesn't really matter that much if you die top, as long as you play for your team throughout the game.
Well, was there ever a time where it was top-sided, where the top mattered the most?
What do you think?
Generally, I feel like less resources usually go top.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times where like the top lane champions are like super strong. Like the past couple of years, Aatrox has been a recurring threat, and so like in team fights, they're super important. I don't know. Like you're referring to with Dota, there was like one time, like a while back, where they had that mismatch where like the top laner would go versus the AD carry and vice versa. So like on the opposite side,
they would do that.
Yeah, but Riot's made a lot of changes to kind of force the symmetricality to.
That is so weird. Yeah, we used to have a jungler in Dota, and that got phased out when you guys, or not when you guys. I don't think it was like a direct correlation. Hopefully not, but. There is no more jungler in Dota. The jungle is somewhere the ADC goes when they don't need to lane anymore. And they have enough sustain, and then they just farm in the jungle. There's no like buffs or anything to get. They're just like basically just like neutral. It's like everything's are like chickens and bigger, and there's no smite spells or summoner spells. But that's a little off topic. Too much Dota in our thing. Okay, so are there any champs or strategies that you're willing to divulge that you think are sleeper hits? That people haven't picked up on yet, that you think we like either needs more research into it, or that people are literally just not picking and you're abusing?
Well, I think the Gangplank, like I talked about, he's not really that sleeper, right? Because everyone knows that he's very good, but he's just so hard to play. He takes a lot of skill to play and a lot of patience, and he can get behind really easily, so that's why not many people play him. But that's why I'm trying to learn him, because he's very good in the right hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my sleeper pick.
I think in the bot lane, like that recent patch that you're talking about, I think it's going to shake things up a bit, and no one really knows. Well, maybe somebody does, but I don't know if anyone really knows what the best champs are anymore, because before the buffs to the engaged supports, they weren't even picking support champions. They were picking 280 carries in the bot lane just because they had the most fighting power, the most like pushing power for that, priority, so that went in there.
Wow.
And so I'm not a fan. I don't want to be playing Varus support. I don't want to be playing Caitlyn and Kalista support. So we'll see if the engaged support's coming back out on top, or maybe the AD carries are here to stay. We'll see.
Yep. Another sleeper pick I have is Wukong, which you saw in the first game.
Yeah.
I also picked it last week against Temple, and that was the one game we won. We unfortunately lost to Temple, but in that game it felt very good as well. And not many people play Wukong in the top lane. It's another part of draft actually, which if you're curious, you could have seen in the first game we picked Wukong early, right? Because he's primarily a jungle champion. So then the enemy team thinks that Wukong is going jungle, so they might pick a jungler, and then we can pick a jungler that's good into that.
The flexibility
Exactly.
of their
it's called
position.
a flex pick.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I know. I think I know where. Okay.
Yep. So that's been pretty solid for us.
All right. What about you were talking about 2 ADCs on bottom? Any fun off-meta champs or strategies that are not necessarily competitive, but you find enjoyable to run down on sometimes?
Ooh, Poppy and Nivea. Poppy's got this wall slam where like you push your opponent into a wall, then they get stunned and take a ton of damage. My bad. And Nivea just creates a wall out of thin air, so you can get some pretty funny kill setups with that.
Mm-hmm.
What else is there? One that might be competitive and is pretty fun is like Neela. Neela got released not too long ago. I don't know, like a year or something.
Yeah, probably.
And she's really unique because she's a very short range AD carry. She's like practically melee. She synergizes with like heals and shields, and so you kind of want to just all in your opponent, like just dive the heck out of them, and it's really fun to play that too. There's a lot of fun things you can do. There's like Zillion can attach a bomb to minions, and then you've got champs like Sion that can push the minion into your opponent. Stuff like that. Probably, yeah. I wouldn't play those in one of our competitive matches, but if you're looking for something to try in, your normal games, or go terrorize ranked with it, then go for that.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So let me read this. And where do you look to learn more about the game and its current meta, such as like do you do coaching, pro players, content creators?
I personally, I look at a lot of pro matches, and I go on websites that track the champions that they play, and then that kind of gives you a read into what is good. It does affect it sometimes though, because the pro leagues are always a patch or two behind our college league, so they're playing on 13.1 still, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so things change, and we kind of have to adapt to those changes before the pros can. I also watch just some YouTubers that analyze pro games, which helps you kind of learn about what's good.
Yeah, I agree. It just stems from the pro scene for the most part.
Yeah.
That's fun that you guys, I mean, I know that it's just because of how like they have to delay because they have to practice so much more or whatever. Mm-hmm. But this is like the frontier of new patches would be like the collegiate pros. If you wanted to see the best players when a patch drops, would it be in the collegiate? Is that like how it would work because the pros don't get it for a couple months?
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Weeks.
Actually, does this stay one patch for the whole split, or do they usually?
No. It updates.
I think going into playoffs, it'll update, right?
No, it's just like a week or two behind. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In a sense, you could see some of that, but also collegiate's not at that same level. So like, if you want to pull out some of your signature champions, you're totally allowed to do that, right? Like, you might not see the Rammus pick in a pro game, but it works super well in college. So,
okay, alrighty, all right. So I have one last like fun questions for you guys to think about, and it's gonna be if you guys were to swap roles, who do you think would perform better?
I don't know. I've seen some crazy Garen gameplay from Allan and a few games we played.
What champs would you guys pick?
Support. I would definitely be playing engaged supports, like Nautilus probably, or Alistar, stuff like that. That I can kind of brawl on. I can't play like passive Soraka, Seraphine, stuff like that. I can't do that.
I mean, when I have to go top because I get like filled in solo queue, like the Garen that Haxorr mentioned. You can play a couple of supports top lane, like Karma is one of the ones that works pretty well. As far as who performed better, people always say that support's an easier role. So like,
dude, you would definitely perform better. I'm so bad on support. Anytime I get filled in solo queue to support, it's pretty much just a loss for my team. I'm terrible at that role.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah, you would outperform me. Yeah.
Alrighty. With that, thank you guys so much for pulling up and talking about League, especially after those awesome games. I'd love to give you the space right now if you wanted to plug your socials, wanted to do a little bit of that kind of stuff, and then we'll wrap it all up.
Oh, yeah, sure. You can check out my Instagram. It's Paul_Vickers24. And I might start streaming soon. I'm not sure. It's something I really want to do, but I don't have that much time to do it. I also would have to upgrade my PC. But I don't know. I really do want to start streaming. There's this funny clip that I made. Do you know Tyler 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a funny clip where I made him rage quit, which happened like 2 weeks ago, which
That's
is really
sick.
funny. And if I was streaming,
You'd be able to have the other
pretty
POV.
sweet.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what Shadow Play is for me.
Yeah.
Well, I did a little bit of streaming way back when, right?
Mhm.
But most of my clips now are just like, oh, that was funny. I have Shadow Play running at all times, right?
Cool. Yeah. I
But-
should look into that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I have any socials to plug. Yeah. No. I mean, for sponsors, if Spectrum Internet wants to sponsor us. Our AD carry just moved out of his apartment, and then he had to get internet. Like last week's match, he was playing on his data from his phone, and we were all trying to convince him to get internet, and he did, and we won. So
Yeah, true.
shout out Spectrum, honestly.
Tsao Spectrum Mobile. Okay, with that, thank you guys so much for pulling up. And we're about to end it right here, just for the whole podcast. But thank you guys so much for listening. Any sort of feedback that you want, you could reach me on Discord, Vermont Bail, in the RIT Esports Discord, or if you want to send me any sort of message to make that stuff happen, what you want to see next, we'll be doing polls, we'll figure something out, but thank you all for pulling up, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day.